As long as you're using the right angle, the right lighting, or like, cutting at the right moments. There's movies like, Monsters or this, like where it's a really low budget, like CGI is probably not all that great, but you're just using it correctly. And
Drive-by movies here. You're watching Direct to Dumpster. My name is Blaze.
And I'm James.
This week on Direct to Dumpster, we are going to be talking about Terrified. This is available on Shudder only, I'm pretty sure. It's a Shudder exclusive, so go check it out there. We, went a little bit of a different ways this time. Instead of doing an Amazon movie, we're going to be talking something that you can only watch on Shudder.
Yeah, I'm very confused right now. We went to Shudder instead of Amazon. Like, I feel like we should be switching seats. Like, this is the end of an era almost. Like, we ran out of stuff on Amazon, I suppose.
Quite possibly.
JK, that's never going to happen.
That won't happen, but I think we just, after the past couple weeks, we want to watch something a little bit different. We haven't watched, like, bad movies by any means, but wanted to take a chance with something that I had heard some murmurs about, but still not enough. So we wanted to shed some light on the movie Terrified. I have to say, I really enjoyed it.
For the most part, I enjoyed it. There's a lot to like about it, but some stuff falls apart, like, as the climax starts to build up. But overall, though, I think it's a movie that not really anyone has mentioned. And that's what I want to bring up, actually, mainly about this episode of Direct to Dumpster. Who talks about Shudder? Hardly anyone. You hear it on every podcast ad.
Yeah.
I feel like if you listen to Movie Crypt, they bring up Shudder like 4 times each episode and stuff. But yeah, it's a great app. And I mean, you can find a great horror selection on pretty much any app. Like even Netflix has a great one. Of course, Amazon, which we always go to, has a great one. But Shudder, like, it's everything on there is quality, I'd say. Yeah.
I think one of the things for me that's most exciting about it is the selection of international horror. As you saw, we're watching Terrified, which this is a Brazilian movie, but it's also cool how many different, international movies that you wouldn't necessarily, if this was 5 or 10 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to get unless you had to wait for, the DVD release.
Yeah.
And then you also have to know that it's coming out somehow, like maybe Red Fangoria or something, or like Bloody Disgusting, and that's how you found out about it.
It's very rare for these movies to like make rounds, I feel like. I mean, luckily we live in LA, so we do hear a lot about like certain foreign films, but a lot of them are easy to just forget about and like squeeze through the cracks and stuff. And this one I never heard of. Are you familiar with it at all? Or?
I mean, I heard a lot of people talking about it when it came out, I think a year ago on Shudder. This was originally released 2017, but I think it took a year to, make its international debut, and Shudder, purchased the exclusive rights. So I did hear people talking about it when it first came out. I did watch like that intro when it first came out, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to save this for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Didn't rain today, but whatever. We watched it anyways.
Right, yeah. And flat out, I'm going to say like this, like Direct to Dumpster isn't necessarily movies that are like bad or anything. We're just picking movies that no one talks about. Like they feel like they've just been dumped into, this huge pile of movies that you're never going to find. So that's what we're here for, to check them out for you. And I'd recommend this one still though. Plot wise, I mean, it's your typical haunted house, but actually, no, it's more of a haunted neighborhood, I'd say. Yeah. It was like kind of cool that like one house kind of just creates this chain reaction of events throughout the entire block, essentially.
Yeah. Definitely can see that. I mean, I feel like it has some homages to like Poltergeist, but it definitely has, like, okay, one house is haunted, but then that kind of spreads on 3 houses essentially through a chain of events, as you said. And I feel like I love some of the aspects of like supernatural horror that they brought into this, that other movies do touch on. Other movies mention that there are other dimensions, like ghosts, maybe a ghost dimension essentially that exists almost upon our dimension itself, but we don't really interact. But sometimes like cracks can be broken in the seam, or quite literally in the wall, the dimensions sort of collapse upon each other.
Where they're also like there and not there too, like, and they're not from this world, as they say throughout the movie. I mean, there isn't really a whole lot of explanation in this movie. If that's what you're going to be looking for, like, oh, what's going on? You're not really going to get it. There are some tidbits here and there. Yeah. And those are some of the parts where I felt like it felt a little bit too much like exposition. Like they just wanted to, just like tighten up the script just a little bit. But I didn't need that, I felt like. But
for me, I wanted more of that, I think. Like personally, I'm just like, oh, I like that exposition. I like thinking about, oh, wow, what if there are really 2 different dimensions that are on top of each other, one possibly good and one possibly evil,
right?
But and I wanted more of that. That didn't quite fulfill on that for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't bother me that there was no exposition. I think it lied in this middle ground of like, we're going to explain a little bit, but then we're also going to leave enough to your imagination.
Yeah. I'd say though, just also what suffered though was the lack of a main character in the movie. There's scenes where it definitely focuses on a specific character, but there isn't one specific main character. So I wasn't really like following anyone. Like it starts off with one character. His wife dies at the beginning of the film. He gets interviewed by the cops, and we just don't really see him for the rest of the movie. I did like the use of like shooting like out of sequence and stuff.
Yeah,
there were times that I didn't realize it was out of sequence. So that we've brought this up with like Gotti, where just like you got to make it a little bit more noticeable. I don't need the 1 week later or something, but like I don't know, give me something. I feel like
I don't know what's the what would be the choice thing to do there to make that it's a different time period?
I mean, maybe if I was paying attention a little bit more thoroughly, like, I mean, of course I was watching the movie and stuff, but at home, like you get like distracted every once in a while and stuff. So like, I was just like, wait, is this a flashback and stuff? Like, but yeah, there was always that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the time kind of, it's not throughout the whole movie, but definitely in the beginning, they play with 3 or 4 different time periods that are kind of, they don't show you, but I kind of like that aspect, because even if you from the bat you don't know, oh, is this before or after, you're asking yourself that in your head, but then they do kind of clear it up after the scene is over, like, oh, okay, those people are on screen, that means this is 2 weeks later or whatever,
right? But
so I kind of like that element, but I do understand that could get a little bit confusing.
Normally it doesn't, like that stuff I'm easy to follow, but like Gotti, like everyone looked the same in each one. Of course, like this is only weeks, but Gotti had no excuse though, because it's like decade jumps, and I'm like, wait, what? But this one though, like, at least it was easier to tell, but just like sometimes I couldn't tell if it was a flashback or not though. But one thing I wanted to get into also is like the creatures and like these demons and spirits that we're seeing. I mean, they're basically just normal like naked dude. Well, it's the one naked dude for the most part, but they just like kind of CGI enhanced his face at times. But it looked creepy, and it was definitely like an image that's gonna be stuck with me, as well as a little kid. Like that was definitely a different scene I never expected. Just seeing like a kid crawl out of his grave and sitting down at dinner table as if nothing happened, but just staying there, and they're like, wait, is this like, did he get here? Did the mom dig him out or something? Like yeah,
it's definitely a little wild on that. I thought the creature effects were really, really cool. Like really well done. It didn't seem low budget at all or anything. It seemed like they actually put a lot of money into it. Some of the CGI, not so much, but I guess I can understand if they actually have a bunch of cool makeup or creature effects.
It's effective. Like the Wreck movies, those I mean, those are from Spain, but like, just like the effects in that movie are not great, but they're effective though, I'd say.
I think they use incredible storytelling to make those effects better in those movies, where it's like, okay, we're only going to use a night vision camera here, and they kind of do that a little here, but there are a bunch of scenes where there's CGI with no kind of filter on top of it.
Exactly. As long as you're using the right angle, the right lighting, or like cutting at the right moments. There's movies like Monsters or this, like where it's a really low budget, like CGI is probably not all that great, but you're just using it correctly and stuff.
Definitely. So when it comes to Terrified, I'd say, I mean, if you have Shudder, go check it out. If you don't, it's only $5 a month, so you could just get it for a month and watch this. Essentially,
I guess we're basically like just promoting Shudder at this point.
Are we shills?
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's a great app though. No, I mean, it's one of those apps where I can spend like an hour just staring at them, just like, I want to watch all of these. I think literally I'm gonna just find myself just watching number 1, like whatever movie starts with 1 and whatever ends with Z. And
you're just gonna go A through Z?
Yeah.
Or numbers first?
Numbers first, then A through Z. Yeah.
I think that should. What if it's opposite though? It could be A through Z opposite, and then numbers. You never know.
I'm pretty sure Shudder's numbers anyway, A through Z, but I could be wrong though.
All right, interesting.
Yeah. Skipping 31 though, that stupid.
Oh, that's definitely first. Actually, now that I think about it, that was first. The first movie is 31.
And that's going to conclude this episode, guys. Thank you so much for the support, and be sure to check out Terrified as well on Shudder.
And leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought of the film after you check it out, and smash that like button while you're at it. The best way to get our content delivered straight to you is by hitting that subscription button and clicking that notification bell.
Drive-by movies, that's going to conclude this week's episode of Direct to Dumpster. Tune in next Thursday for a new video.